like playing roulette.
I know. I know. This
Okay.
always this always takes forever. Okay, so I should be live on YouTube now. I think
All right. Live on Rumble. I do
this
see
takes
that.
forever. Okay, so I should be live.
And I think live on YouTube. Okay.
This always takes forever. Yay! Okay. All right. So we got everything. Okay.
All right.
Sorry, everybody. Dual streaming takes a little bit of effort on my part to kind of get everything going. I wish there was a faster way to do that. I don't know though. I may have to look
There
into it
is now,
later.
but not for free. Apparently, the word I saw it today. Restream officially added Rumble as one of their platforms.
I mean, it might be worth doing a restream. What's up, Manzilla? Good to see you.
All
Thanks for
right,
popping in. I
and
don't recognize the name, but thank you for popping in. I appreciate it. Hopefully, we'll have a decent show for you. We always kind of start by talking about what we kind of did over the weekend, what we got going. In this case, what we got going on for the holidays, because Hanukkah and Christmas land on exactly the same day this year.
exactly the same day.
No, Hanukkah starts on the day that Christmas happens. Hanukkah goes for 7 days. I appreciate it. Yeah, this has mostly been a video game history channel for now, along with this podcast. Um, I might start doing other things other than video games when I feel like I'm kind of hitting that point where I want to mix it up a little bit. But right now, I've been enjoying all the video game stuff. So I've got a
Like that
bunch of stuff
second
planned for
video,
January.
like that second video of Megatron.
Yeah, I did pick that up.
I forgot that you bought that.
Oh
You
yeah, no,
did
I bought that like ages
you
ago. It
did
showed up
mention
like
that you had
November
that.
1st.
Yeah, you mentioned you gotten it, but I saw
Yeah,
that and I'm like, damn. And I had to hit you up on that because I'm like, I wonder if he's got this.
yeah. What he's talking about, Mansilla, is there's this automated robots and Megatron figure that self transforms and talks and walks and does all sorts of actions and stuff. And so I bought a lot of those. I bought the Grimlock one, I bought the Prime one, and I bought the Megatron one. The
Oh, I
only one I
didn't.
don't have is
Oh,
Bumblebee.
did I
And
see your
I
Grimlock?
threw my line out on that one to maybe get that one for Christmas, but it hadn't been really been a priority because that one doesn't transform. He just walks around and does stuff.
Did I see your Grimlock one though? I don't know if I've
I don't
seen your
know if you did
Grimlock.
or not. I mean, he's in the background here. Hold on, let me drop this down.
Ooh.
You can kind of see
Oh.
him back there.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see him.
He's a big boy.
Yes, he
He a
is.
big boy.
Yes, he is.
So, as we're kind of waiting on people to filter in to kind of start the topic tonight, which is kind of modernizing retro consoles, is what we kind of wanted to end the year with because there's been a lot of
Yeah.
action in that area and a lot of movement as far as mini consoles, people implementing new consoles that run the old stuff either through emulation or physical hardware. And there's a lot of stuff like, and I should probably pull that up too, like Evercade that's selling carts that do emulation through the physical carts and things like that to allow you to play a lot of older arcade games, a lot of older console games, and stuff like that in the modern area with modern conveniences. And it can also get us a little bit into the modding scene because a lot of people have taken their consoles and modified them so that they have like HDMI outs and things like that that are nice for modern TVs.
Yep.
So that's the kind of stuff that we kind of want to talk about tonight because a lot of people know about it and who are kind of in the know, and maybe some people don't know about it. And either way, it just kind of makes a fun, nerdy conversation to have. And I appreciate that. Hopefully, you've caught a few of them or caught them on replay, and I'm glad you're enjoying them.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
and welcome
absolutely,
to the chat.
absolutely. Always glad to have somebody that I haven't seen too much of popping up and saying hi in the chat. I don't mind. I love it when people lurk. I love it more when people say hi. Before we go ahead and get started, Mike, what'd you do this weekend, and what are you doing to prep for Hanukkah and all that other good jazz?
Let's see. So for starters, let's see. I had services Friday night. Got a real nice surprise actually. There's a music director at my temple, and I teach music there and stuff like that. And apparently, um, behind my back, they decided they wanted to honor me. So I get the services Friday night, and I'm looking and pick up um, one of the newsletters, and my name's on it. And they're like, why is my name on it? And my rabbi just smiled and said, "You'll see." So they
Usually I don't like it when anybody of religion just smirks and says, "You'll see."
Yeah. Well, so as it turns out, the her and these are all my friends too. The temple president and one other person came up and said, yeah, you said all the stuff that I appreciate.
Right, right.
Everything you do for us, and we can't do this without you, and yada yada. And I'm all, and it makes me feel good because it's something that I put a lot of time and effort into.
I was about to say
And
you put a
then
lot of time into your synagogue, so
and then they said, "Oh, and by the way, we don't know what we could really get for you, so we came up with this," and handed me this envelope or this like thing, and just a folder, and inside he said, "Okay, so these are 5 round trip tickets on Southwest Airlines for anywhere you want to go. Good for the next year."
yeah, that was crazy. I remember you telling me about that because we were talking about what topic we wanted to do yesterday, right? Because I missed hooking up with you Wednesday of last week because I've just been like the end of the year, especially in Colorado where I'm at, it gets dark so quick. That
Oh,
like it seems like during the winter, like we start getting sunset at like 4 o'clock.
we're not far behind you.
So it's like it's the earliest in any state I've ever seen of it starting to get dark. So like
Yeah,
by 4:30 it's like dark. So around the 25th it'll start. After that it'll start getting a little bit lighter.
yeah,
But
that's
it
nonsense.
really messes with me during the winter around here because I'm just drained, right? And I've been getting up earlier because they're like, well, you need to be there a full 8 hours. I'm like, I'm salary. What are you talking about? So I've been trying to get in earlier. So that means I'm waking up at like 5
Mm.
a.m. And so I'm crashing hard around 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So I get home, I do my exercise, and I get through all that. And then I'm just like exhausted. And I'm just not there. And that's been me for a bit lately, and I've been trying to adjust to it. And so that's been kind of my struggle. This weekend, I did manage to get through a little bit of gaming. I messed with Street Fighter 6 a little bit, but I did push really hard. Almost gave myself like carpal tunnel of my on my right hand because I was playing Borderlands 3. I was playing it for like
Oh my.
hours trying to push through this game because I just wanted to finish it finally.
Oh
By the
snap.
end. Oh, thank you, Matt. Mike does most of his work on Rumble. If you're not there, you're probably not going to see a ton of his stuff. He pops in over here because I dual stream this one. So I do this on both YouTube and on Rumble. Rumble's just
Yeah,
another
yeah.
YouTube styled platform that's a little bit more right wing, right? So if you're down for that, you might want to check out his stuff there because that's where you're going to see a lot of his live streams. And he goes by the same handle over there. If you just put in like original next level gaming, you should be able to find him there. Assuming you're interested in Rumble. A lot of people don't like that vibe, they don't like that place, and they don't go there. So Zombie,
Jeez,
what's up, man?
just stick to the gaming side if you're not into anything else.
It's kind of hard to dodge the rest of it, but it's doable. It takes some
Just
effort.
come, just come, just come straight to my channel then. Don't even worry
Yeah,
about anything else.
yeah,
There you go.
it's a thing. So it
We
may ask
play,
you to
we
set up an
play
account,
every
all
night.
that other jazz. They don't track any information.
And
Yada
in
yada
fact,
yada.
last night I picked up Jacob from college yesterday, and
Yes.
that was an 8 hour round trip. But I got home in time to stream, and so I played another 3+ hours of Indiana Jones in the Great Circle,
I
which,
just installed that today.
dude, it is for me the best game of this generation,
I had not gotten too
hands
far into it.
down.
Actually, I restarted it twice. Once because I was trying to play it with keyboard, and then I decided that wasn't working for me because the controls are set up kind of weird for keyboard.
Yeah, controller works great.
So I plugged in my Xbox controller, and we'll talk about this one because we have a controller episode we want to do, but we'll
We do.
talk about that more then. But it was having some issues, and so I ended up switching over to an 8-bit controller that I have. And if you guys haven't heard of 8-bit, yeah, they're definitely worth looking up. They make really good kind of retro style controllers, and they make great PC controllers, Switch controllers, Xbox controllers, etc. So they work on all those platforms, and a lot of them they just have kind of like a toggle switch now. They even work on like Android and iOS and all that other good jazz. So it's a good, really super flexible controller to have around. Um, we got HTK in the chat.
Peter.
So I switched over to that, and I was able to play it pretty effectively. But I would prefer to use my Xbox controller. So I spent some time updating it before I came on here. But yeah, like I said, I beat Borderlands 3, which is not my favorite Borderlands. I still think 2 is probably the best one. Pre-sequel
Which
was
is
okay. I had fun with it. The classes were more fun than the ones in 3. Um, the ones on the 3 bugged me because I didn't really like the antagonist. It got better towards the end, particularly in spoilers. If you haven't played this game, it's like a set of two people, they're brother and sister. After you kill one of them, it gets a little bit more serious and there's a little bit less goofy, stupid crap going on from them. And normally I enjoy the goofy, stupid crap in these games when it's done well. I didn't think the humor didn't hit for me from the two of them, so their dynamic didn't really work for me. And there was some other stuff they tried to do towards the tail end that kind of I don't know. It
my
just
favorite.
I
Yeah,
enjoy the gameplay, just didn't enjoy the story on this one as much.
yeah. My favorite Borderlands games are the ones I don't play.
Yeah, you don't enjoy that series at all.
I
I
am
guess you're not
not.
like a
Yeah,
looter shooter guy, are you?
I'm really not.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
really
and that would
not.
make that a very hard game for you to jive with. And all the weapons are so crazy and different. Like some of them have really tight shooting patterns, some have slow shooting patterns, and it could be the same gun. They could both be SMGs, but they don't act the same. And to me, that's appealing because I don't really want that kind of realism in guns. I don't really care. Um, oh, Matt, that's fine, dude.
Yeah.
Don't worry
No,
about it,
I know
dude.
a lot of people
People
that
watch
a lot of
all the
people
time.
watch
Yeah, they watch
mobile.
on mobile,
Yeah.
they watch on their TV, they watch on their
Yeah.
PC. I prefer PC myself, but everybody's got their taste.
We're just glad you're
Nice. Thank
here.
you, Zombie.
Hey, what's up, zombie?
Yeah, everybody watches where it's convenient for them, and I try not to jack the bitrate or do anything too crazy to where it's not compatible with mobile. But obviously, in this kind of layout, there's only so much I can do because we're going to flip the screens and stuff like that. So I can't really put it in a more phone. I could, but I think it would look weird in a more phone friendly format. Because there's specific formats you can use for that. And I thought about doing shorts on the channel and figuring that out while I'm on vacation. Because I'm on vacation this week. So we're trying to figure that out. And I want to figure out a little bit more of After Effects. And I'm also working on some more videos. Because I got a ton of scripts written up while I was, just winding down the year. So I've got a bunch of those ready to go through January. And then I've got I've got another script that I did the voiceover today that I want to start working on either after this show or sometime tomorrow while I'm working in other things. I also want to get a lot more. Also been enjoying doing a lot of gaming, but I suppose since we've got people coming in here, we should probably start getting into the topic. And
Yeah.
I think just don't jack the bit rate. I think I set it up to like 7,000 or 8,000 kilobits a second or something like that, which I think is about as much as YouTube likes. And even then, it throws fits on me sometimes as far as what it wants to have there. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like I can never quite figure out when YouTube's going to drop them when it's not on me. It just acts bizarre sometimes. So it kind of is what it is. But what I thought we would do is I'll go ahead and pull up the first thing that you sent me because this is kind of what sparked you wanting to do this conversation. The president of Sega had come out and said, we're not going to do a Dreamcast and a Sega Mini because they had already done a
Saturn
Genesis
Mini.
Mini, but
Yep.
that had been about the only one that had ever come out.
There were two. There were two Genesis minis.
Yeah, and they were like,
Apparently,
well, we don't want to be a retro company, right? We're not a
right.
retro company.
Well,
So
okay, but
so
you could
it's like,
still
okay,
be.
well that's kind of money that you're sort of leaving on the table because people would pay for a Dreamcast and the Saturn Mini, especially a Saturn Mini, because a lot of people have trouble emulating those games. They're kind of difficult to do. So finding a way to get that to work would be incredibly profitable for them. But then they came out and they did this. They basically, and this is probably going to take over us for a little while. Can I move this? Yeah, I can. Okay. But they're like, okay, we're gonna basically partner with My Arcade and let them do arcade versions of a lot of our more popular games. And you'll notice they've got like Golden Axe, Sonic the Hedgehog, Outrun, Revenge of Shinobi, Streets of Rage. And what's funny is a lot of these are ones, at least two of these are ones that they're trying to bring back, which is Golden Axe and Revenge of Shinobi. Streets of Rage has already had to come back with Streets of Rage 4, and Sonic's been around in some form or another forever, pretty much. So it's one of those things that's just kind of this odd conundrum that they're doing that I thought was kind of weird. Um, because they're like, well, we're not a retro company. Much appreciated, Matt. Oh, you can't hear her. Oh, you know what? It might be because of where it flipped over. Hold on. They can't seem to be able to hear. Oh, crap. Hang on. I gotta. The screen view doesn't
And
have your
then,
audio, doesn't have your audio
Sai,
pulled
and
in.
that guy Sai,
So I gotta fix that.
I
Sorry.
just can't. I went, oh shit, can you hear me now?
Yeah, he can hear you now.
Thanks,
I'm
Sai.
sorry, you may have to repeat some of that because I had it on the screen on the screen share, and I'll need to fix that. But I'm gonna try to not. I may fix it here in a minute. You guys, we'll do
And then
some
I
tests in
dropped
a
him
minute.
off in the Poconos to die.
You
Oh,
did. You dropped
are
him
we
off in
live
Poconos
again?
to die.
Okay. No. So, yeah, they're, and if you remember, they were delisting some of their console games on Xbox, PlayStation, Switch because they're talking about putting together their own Game Pass style subscription service. So,
Are they talking about doing that for Sega?
they are. Sega's talking about doing a service like Game Pass.
That's kind of
So what
weird
are they
because
gonna
they've thrown a
what are they
lot of
gonna
their
put
stuff
in it?
like Yakuza on Game Pass.
Right.
Like
So
the
what is it?
entire
Well,
Yakuza series is on Game Pass right now.
I'm guessing that it won't be for long. So, but it's like, what are you gonna what else are you gonna put in there? Why? So
Are you they going to put a bunch of their like Master System and up games in there? Are they going to put
I
Saturn
guess
and all
not
that
because
in there?
they're not a retro
But if
company.
they're
They
not a
said.
retro company, like what? I mean, you could probably get like stuff like Persona in there because I think some of that
That's
falls under that,
Atlas.
doesn't it?
Yep, that's Atlas.
That's Atlas, and that falls under them, I think now.
Correct.
Um,
Yeah, it always yeah.
and
So
you got Yakuza.
which is
You'd have
under
the new
them,
Virtual Fighter potentially.
which will be under them, and then all the games that they are bringing out: the Crazy Taxis,
Right,
Shinobi, Golden
right.
Axe, Streets of Rage.
But you're not gonna have enough to fill that service out. I don't feel like.
You're not. What's up, Metal
What's
Torso?
up, Torso?
Yeah, you're not at all. And so I don't understand. It's like, why wouldn't you? So why, if you're not, why did you sell a MIDI, a Genesis Mini in the first place, if you're not a retro company? And people are asking for that stuff for a reason. They're not asking it because they think that Sega doesn't have a future with, Yakuza and all those games, but they want the nostalgia of Sega as well. And what's weird is this time, yeah, right? This time it's Sega of America doing this and not Sega of Japan.
That's unusual because normally, historically, their biggest enemy has been Sega of Japan itself. Almost every single time, it's Sega of Japan not agreeing with what Sega of America wants to do, and Sega of America commonly, more often than not, has had their pulse on what gamers want more often than not. In this case, it doesn't seem to be the case, but that's kind of weird. But I mean, you can move forward and still do things for like your old clientele. Like there's no reason that they can't do both. Or at least outsource it to where one company can handle this part of it. That way they don't have to deal with the hardware costs. Because I know that's gotten them in a bind in the past, right?
But
of having too
how?
much hardware out at one time that they're trying to support, and it caused them grief, and it put them in a bad spot. And I could see not being nervous about going that direction again.
How much does it make to cost to make a mini though?
The
I
cost to
mean,
make a mini is minimal, but
yeah,
the cost
because
to make a
really
mini
you're
is mini.
talking about you're talking about, I mean, you're honestly talking about slapping a Raspberry Pi inside of a mini Dreamcast case and throwing a bunch of games on there and emulating it and calling it a day.
Right. What's up, Slinger? Good to see you, man.
Hey,
Thank
what's
you
going
very
on,
much.
Slinger?
Happy Christmas Eve Eve.
That's right. It's Christmas Eve Eve. It's Hanukkah Eve Eve Eve.
That's right. I have a theory about Sega that I formulated over decades of observation. I don't think they like money. They are coming back with Virtual Fighter 6, though. It's only taken them like 20 years to
I
do
know.
it.
I know. And I'm
They
wondering,
started their series before Tekken, and Tekken is already 2 revisions ahead of them.
yeah.
Technically 3.
Which is funny, because that's one of the reasons that I brought up wanting to talk about controllers down the line because anyway, so modernizing Sega is in their best interest, but they don't seem to feel like it's in their best interest, and I don't understand why. But this is also these are the same folks that are still sitting on. I mean, they're. I think they're another year before we hear anything about those remakes of, or I guess they're not remakes. They're certainly not remasters. They are reimaginings of Golden
Matt, I'm
Axe
not sure
and
what you mean.
Crazy
I'm
Taxi.
seeing your chat messages come through. You not seeing the rest of the chat?
Yeah, we're seeing it. Oh, unless there was something you said that YouTube pulled.
I mean, he's
Last thing
watching
we
on mobile, so he could have had trouble finding the chat.
that could be too, because the last thing you said, Matt, was hope your channel is popular and famous.
Yes, that was
And
the last
then
thing I saw until you asked, "Where's my chat?" It's so easy to emulate these days, which earns Sega squat. So you would think it'd be more lucrative for them to bring out the minis. You would think so, because it's kind of an inexpensive investment on their part, right?
yeah,
You put it in the nice, neat little shell, and even if somebody's not playing it, having it on the shelf is fun, right? You put it up like a little mini representation of the console and continue to play your RetroPie. You've now paid them again for those same games that you're emulating. You're paying for them in collections. There's the Sega Genesis
right.
collection that's out there that's been out there for ages that they put games in. Saying that they're not a retro company is laughable because they've been re-releasing these things in collections for years. So I don't quite get that. Hey, horror. Yeah, everybody seems to be trying to stream right before Christmas. So it's kind of a weird conundrum that they put themselves in even saying that. I get the idea of wanting to move forward and wanting to make new IPs, right? You shouldn't just completely lean in on the retro scene, kind of like Atari's done for like ages. They've done a few new
No,
releases, and they've
absolutely.
done some like, you know, um, uh, what did they call those? They had some remasters of some of the games, but they didn't call them remasters. It was like Recharged or something like that.
Atari was the Recharge series,
Yeah, the Recharge series. So they've done some stuff like that.
which
That's
have
kind of
been
been
great, by
beneficial
the
for
way.
them. Do
Which
what?
have been great, by the way.
Yeah, no,
Um,
no. Anybody that's been big into Ataris loved those.
yeah,
So
Gravatar
that's
and
been a
Breakout
huge
have been
boon for
two of
them,
my
and that's
favorites.
kind of what. And to not, I'm not going to dip into this too deep. And if people in the chat watching, waiting with bated breath, the Intellivision Amico initiative was kind of that, right? It was kind of revitalizing and reimagining a lot of those old games for a new generation. And some
Well,
of that
now
came to
Atari,
fruition with like the home and stuff like that. But the main console
yeah, but
itself
now
seems to
Atari
be
Atari has an opportunity to do that because they purchased all the Intellivision
all the
IP,
Intellivision. Yes,
so
yes, they
they
did.
have an opportunity to take those now and recharge those as well, alongside of what they're still working on with Amigo Company. But
Right,
I
right.
would I would say So Atari, I'm glad you brought up Atari because Atari has done it right from the gaming standpoint and has not done it right from the console standpoint. So we talk about modernizing retro consoles. They've done a great job of modernizing the retro software.
Yes.
Um, and
But the
it the
VCS
one
was oddly priced. Like
oddly priced.
I've always contended that $400 is too much for that. $200 is a great deal. 250
Yes.
is pushing it a little. 300, I start to
However,
tap out. 400, no, absolutely not.
well, so the biggest issue with paying any of that is that none of the games that are on the VCS are actually exclusive to the
Exclusive to the
VCS.
VCS. Yeah. Well,
Every
sometimes they
one of
get
the
extra
recharged
levels and
games.
stuff though. There's some
Yeah,
specific levels and
okay.
things like that that pop in on the
Yes,
VCS only.
you're right, but everything that you can get functionality wise on the Atari VCS, you can also get on the Xbox, the PlayStation, the Switch,
The
the
PC,
PC.
yeah. And
And
even
in
their new
fact,
controllers work on PC too. That
their controllers work on PC, and in fact, it's it is a travesty that the company that they acquired, Digital Eclipse, that's put out these great games such
they've done
as
some amazing compilations. That Cowabunga collection is something special. And then
that
everybody
that
raves on
is
the Atari 50th.
and right. So the Rita's Revenge, the Power Rangers, not on VCS. Cowabunga Collection, not on VCS. The
I need to
Goldmaster
pick up that
series,
Rita's Revenge one. That one looks like it's a lot of fun.
that does look like it's a
I
lot of
picked up the
fun. And
G.I. Joe one, and it's pretty good. The G.I. Joe Wrath of
none of
Cobra.
those are on the VCS. And in
Well, Wrath of
fact,
Cobra was a complete independent. I don't think that was Digital Eclipse.
okay, but the Atari 50th collection, which I have on the VCS, they're trying to figure out how to get the DLC to work on it because it's a massively big game.
Right.
But Rita's Revenge is not. And
No, it's
so
like what, a couple gig
yeah,
at
and
most?
so somehow missing or not putting that out on the Atari VCS makes me wonder what that console is really for other than the nostalgia trip. So I
Yeah,
you know,
it seems like they blended almost too much stuff because they tried to get a lot of Atari's PC history, and their console history into like one unit, right?
but had nothing exclusive for
But
it
they
that
didn't have
just
anything
belonged to it.
exclusive, which made it kind of a
Right.
weird unit. I kind of wanted it as a higher powered emulation unit,
Which
right?
it did a great job
My
of
understanding is it did an amazing job on that.
because
Metal Torso
and
says to go back to his comment because it's been hanging there for a while. Ignoring the roots is just odd. Look at Atari and their retro games, which is why we try their new products. And, that leads right into what we're talking about now.
right. And that's like if you've played and it's multiples. Like the only recharged game I don't
A
like
mini
is
side
Missile
console.
Command. Is Missile
And
Command.
at one point, Atari was acquired by Time Warner, I do believe. And I
Correct.
don't know. I
Jack
don't know that they
Tramiel.
still own them at this point, but I do believe they got bought at some point for them.
No, Atari is its own entity at this point. It used to be, and they
I
used to
thought
own
it was part of like Warner Bros or something like that before it was Time Warner,
it was
because it was like
they
Warner
were
Corporation or something like that. I think before Time Warner.
they sold out to after 83 they sold to Jack Tramiel. And then
Right.
Jack Tramiel sold it to Time Warner. I'm
Yeah, that
looking
new
at what
7800
they're
Plus has been kind of a big boon for a lot of Atari fans. But I
absolutely.
was kind of confused on that one too because it just seemed like I keep waiting for them to do another shakeup. Like the VCS wasn't a bad concept, it was just poorly executed, right? It was a way
Yeah.
for them to bring out new things because they had a bunch of things that came out there that could be highlighted more on their store because they didn't have as much stuff like Steam does, right? So you can highlight different developers and things of that nature. It was the same kind of thing that they were talking about with the Amico project and all that stuff. They could highlight other developers that may not show up as a blip on Steam, but on those stores they could like be rock stars, right? And word of mouth could get around, and then they could be popular in other places, and it'd be a good place for developers to kind of come in, get their feet wet, get started, get a couple of games published, and things of that nature, and they could grow a fan base that way. So it seemed like a good opportunity to do something like that and not necessarily have to compete at the same level as like Nintendo and Sony. And I I kind of
Well, it's
don't want to
weird
say
too.
Xbox because I knew they were going to go this direction, but the direction's confusing right now as to what they really want to be. Um,
Right.
because they
And don't
seem to
forget
basically
too.
want to be a software ecosystem, not a console manufacturer, right?
Right.
So I don't know that they're really competing in the same space as either the other two right now, anyway, right?
Sore subject for many people.
It is, but I mean it is what it
It
is. You know what
it
I
is
mean?
what
I'm
it
not
is.
saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying
So
it's difficult to identify where they fit in gaming right now because they're in
right.
this weird limbo space right now with what they want to do.
And getting back to Atari, here's why I like what they're doing
No,
with
you're fine,
those.
man. I got what you were doing.
Yeah, here's why I like what they're doing with their cartridge consoles. One of the big things that has been an issue in trying to get modernized retro consoles is what do you do about HDMI? Right? For the longest time, the flashback and even some of the current flashback consoles still only have um, yellow white,
The
yep,
composite
the
cables.
composite, right?
Yeah.
Which most modern TVs still have, but like mine is a weird way of hooking
Yeah,
it
they
up.
do, but a lot of them are starting to move away from that, and you're starting to need like HDMI adapters for those things.
Exactly. So the 2600 plus and the 7800 plus both do that. Now,
Yes.
here's what I am wondering is now why is there both? So they have a 2600 plus and a 7800 plus, but they both play the same games. So I'm not sure the reason for it,
This
but
is
I
kind of cool
understand.
from Cy. He said, about the 7800 plus, if you want to go into the system and you play select and reset at the same time. Also, it'll actually allow you
Nice.
to pause all games, not just 7800 games, but 2600 ones too. That's kind of cool because the 7800 was the only one that I think allowed you to pause games initially.
Nice. And
They
that stuff
they
is
skipped the 5200 too, didn't they? Si? I don't think those games work on that one. It's just the
it does not.
26 and the
No.
78.
No, the
It's weird
26.
that the 52 is once again like the redheaded stepchild. It didn't support the 2600 when it came out. The 7800 didn't have an adapter that supported it when it came out. Um, everything seems to try to forget that console exists for some
Which
reason.
is
Even Atari.
I think a lot of it is because they really thought the 5200 was going to be the home console version of their home computer, which is and at side and side's going right where I was going. I had um I had an Atari
Well,
800.
yeah, that's like the ZI or whatever it is too.
The
The
the XE,
the
the
yeah
XE.
the XE.
So yeah,
That one's the XE model consoleized.
well, yes. So I had an Atari 800 and I had an Atari 1200 XL. The games on the Atari 8-bit computer were the exact same games on the 5200, and they were programmed at the same time. There were minimal changes needed other than how to map the controller because the controller had buttons on the controller whereas the computer had a keyboard, yada yada.
Right, right, right.
But they were the same games. So see, and Metal Torso, I would have had a 400. I wasn't in love with the main brain keyboard. That was a weird
And
thing
in
for me.
Slinger, they may have removed it on more modern TVs.
So
I
Slinger might.
before I replaced it with this new TV, and I haven't even looked for ours. I haven't even looked for composite cables on this one.
I
My last TV was like 10 years old or more, so it
I
had
have
been a
to see.
while since I had been on the market for a TV because I didn't have any 4K programming. I didn't have a 4K Blu-ray player. None of the consoles were doing 4K. I just didn't see the point in having a 4K TV and having no media for it. So I waited, and they got cheaper.
I so I have an eighth inch I have an eighth inch jack on the back of my TV that the composite and component, it's kind of a dual cable plugs into that, and that's how I get it.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
Sai's got the XEGS and the
so
5200. Yeah.
getting back to the consoles themselves, the reason that I appreciate what they wanted to do with the 2600 plus and the 7800 plus is there's a lot of people that have, if you
Happy
have
holidays,
that.
Matthews.
Hey, what's up, Matthews? Happy holidays, my brother. If you have the cartridge collection, and many people do, it is fantastic to have that console. Um, and
You can still get those for a pretty good price around here, like 2600 carts and stuff. I know a
absolutely,
place that actually carries a lot of used games, and they had a ton of like old Atari stuff.
and the difference between and honestly the difference between, I'm kind of looking it up a little bit, the difference really between the 2600 and the 7800 are the controllers that you get, and of course the look of them,
Right.
because again they both play the 2600 games. The 2600 plus does play 7800 games, because of course the audio is the same. The reason I say I appreciate and understand what they're doing, I would like them to make an Intellivision Plus so that I can also use the cartridge collection that I have over there on a modern television.
Now, I know a couple people, Papa Pete in particular, has a modded Intellivision console that has an HDMI port on it now.
Yes,
So people do aftermarket mods for those consoles
yes. However,
to update them.
the one that I have is an Intellivision 2, and the controllers were garbage. Horrible controllers.
Well,
So,
yeah, the Intellivision controllers were known for wearing out and just having issues
no,
anyway.
but there was a specific issue with the Intellivision 2 controllers that were even worse. At least with
Yeah,
the
I don't
original,
remember specifically what it was, but I do remember reading
the,
that somewhere.
the original controller, at least the number buttons had a bubble on them, right? So you could
Right.
feel pressing them down.
Yeah.
These don't. This is a flat surface, and
Okay.
pressing on the overlays was no good, and the buttons were actually worse on the sides.
Oof.
Yeah, it was one of the things I love so much the
It's like I
Amico
had to
was
play
they
Bezos to get
fixed
an
those
adapter
buttons
goes
on
from
the
RCA to
controller.
HDMI. Yeah. Yeah, and I've done that a lot of times. I've done like RCA to USB and everything else like that too. And
Yeah, and
2600 carts are a dime a dozen. They really are, man. It was such a popular console, and the carts survived for so long that it's super easy now to get your hands on them. And they're not as coveted now because it's not everybody who wanted that collection kind of has that collection. So people coming in, those things aren't at astronomical prices anymore. So they're kind of like one of the consoles you can kind of collect for that's not going to like completely break your budget.
yeah, but I also don't want to do that. I don't want to
Cough, cough, sigh, cough, cough.
cough. I don't want to. I don't want to. If I'm getting to a point in my life where modding consoles, if I can't soft mod it, I I I, I don't want to deal with it. My Xbox, my OG Xbox, which even though it's soft modded, is my OG Xbox, my Dreamcast, my Saturn, all have all I have HDMI adapters on all of them, right?
Right.
Because the Dreamcast pulls from the VGA port, the Saturn pulls from the RGB, and the Xbox pulls from its RGBs or his component. So I'm I'm at that point in my life. If I'm going to do HDMI, I either want it natively on the box or I'll get a cheap ass adapter like a HyperCAN or a pound cable.
Yeah, that's one of the
Um,
things I didn't pull up link for. Matter of fact, let me pull up some of these, and this is gonna take a minute while I get your audio back in here. So give me a second here while I switch the screen view.
okay.
Audio impact capture. Nope. Okay, try now. I can't tell if he's actually talking or if he's bullshitting right now.
Can you hear
There he
me?
is. Okay. All right. I'm like, I know I added the right input, but I can't tell if he's just doing that just to mess with people or not.
I said no audio.
I was about to say you should have it. He was just screwing with you, Sai.
uh,
Because it took me a minute to add that one. You got Sai.
um, the
So I pulled up a couple of the consoles that are kind of trying to do that are working in the space.
oh yeah,
Analog with the Duo and all that. So there's a bunch of products that they have. Their most recent one
Analog
is
has
they're
done a
doing an
good job of
N64.
attempting. Analog's done a good job of attempting to capture this.
Yep, the
Um,
Pocket is another one that's been pretty popular. You can still output this to your TV. You can get different adapters for like Game Gear, TurboGrafx Express, um, Game Boy. I think it might even do like Game. I don't know if it does Game Boy Advance or not. Some of the people in chat might be able to answer because I know a few people own this particular unit, and they have a love hate relationship with it because the product itself is great. It's well constructed, but their actual support, apparently their support when you call the support line for anything is garbage. Um, and then they have the Duo, which I've been kind of tempted by because that allows you to do TurboGrafx. And then they had these for a while, and I kind of wish they'd bring these back because this is the Mega SG and the Super NT, which allow you to do Super Nintendo and Genesis games. Yeah, and the Pocket, the Pocket, honestly, out of their options, seems like if you're playing particularly Game Boy games, this seems like the ideal way to play Game Boy games because the original Game Boy and most of its variations had no backlight. So playing
yeah,
that thing in low light finding the right light to be able to play a Game Boy was a pain in the butt. I loved my Game Boy, but that was one of the sticking points I always had with it.
there were 17 different lights you could get
Yes,
to
there were
click
all
on
sorts
it.
of lights you could add to it and everything like that,
Yep.
but man, oh man, oh man, playing it just natively was a pain in the butt. Yeah, Slinger's got a hard modded GameCube and GBA. Yeah,
Nice.
those are sweet.
So interesting. Cousin born distracted by life. He sent me a link to a video for something exactly like that for the Saturn. Now the Saturn and the Dreamcast have optical drive emulators for that, but for the Saturn, and I can't find it because it's sold out. It's a cartridge. It goes in the cartridge slot, and
Oh, you were talking about that. Yeah, you put the card in, and it's kind of like an EverDrive for the Saturn.
kinda, yeah.
For those of you guys who don't know, an EverDrive is basically wrong one is a cart-based solution for adding ROMs to your native NES or whatever console. They'll sell you a cart that basically is like a big SD card that just fits in the slot. And then it boots up and it brings you up to a menu of like whatever games you can select. And they run more natively like they're on the actual physical hardware because it's just interfacing with physical hardware. So it just loads the ROM basically as opposed to having to do actual emulation.
Right. And it all sits on an SD card that you can put right in the cartridge slot. So you're not
Oh, what's up, Area?
emulate.
Thank you, thank
You're
you.
not
Happy
hey
holidays to you
area.
too.
Happy
Yeah,
holidays, my
emulation
brother.
is really good for a lot of these old consoles. Um,
Agree.
FPGA is another good solution. I know a bunch of people. I knew a couple people for a while in the speedrunning community, and they would either swear by original hardware or FPGA. But if you're playing the game casually, you're not going for like, top speed runs or particular games like Punch Out is apparently notoriously hard towards the end, but on emulation. But then that game's notoriously hard past like Sandman for me anyway, right? I just find that game difficult for me to execute the patterns. It's not so much an understanding of the patterns; it's executing any of it.
Well, and I'm with Sai 100%. Like I'm either going to use my modded Xbox, and there are some fantastic emulators for my OG Xbox that allow me to do pretty much most 8-bit, 16-bit, and PS1 games.
Now
But
this is interesting. Metal Torso says, I don't know if you've seen it, but Opcode, and I think I'm saying that right, is working on the SGM2, which
goes into the
basically adds an
expansion
expansion
slot of
slot
the.
for ColecoVision and provides HDMI with no mods. That's cool.
Oh wow,
Because
that would make me.
ColecoVision's kind of been like the dark horse on a lot of this. They tried to do like a flashback thing with that with the Chameleon, and that turned out to basically be vaporware. That was a complete scam. And then there was I want to say it was called the Phoenix, that actually was new hardware for the ColecoVision. So you could do the ColecoVision through HDMI, and then that stopped selling, and it's like $800 on eBay now. So it's kind of a ridiculously priced console now. And there are new games coming out for a lot of these. There are a lot of people doing like homebrew games or indie games and
Mhm.
stuff like that, and they're legitimately selling them in carts, which is not cheap. But you are getting new games for these old consoles. There's like entire communities on them. Atari's got a big one, and Television has a big one. Nintendo has a pretty big one. Genesis has had some killer stuff you can find on YouTube randomly, just amazing stuff that people are making. And a lot of times those things hit Steam and other markets too, but they'll actually sell the physical cart for the console that they had in mind when they designed it, which is fantastic if you're into that kind of collecting and want to have like new games on top of the original titles that came out when the console was alive and kicking. So there's a bunch of stuff like that. Now, one of the other ones that I brought up too, because we had talked about this the other day, is the Polymega.
I so wanted one, and
And
I
I
know
mean, this
Rich
is
has one. Rich
a
Haywood,
few people have one. This is a really expensive solution, and this was supposed to be an FPGA console.
and they
My understanding is they
turned
ditched FPGA and went with straight emulation on this console. Now, you guys in the
correct.
chat can correct me, but
No, they did.
but
You're
I'm pretty
absolutely
sure
right
that's how they went with it. And I know that was a sticking point that annoyed some people, but a lot of people still have the system and like it because it's kind of
Well,
it's modular and you can add on
because
a lot of stuff,
what
which is very expensive though.
because what they did was they pulled together some of the best emulators out there. Um, my understanding is that the emulation on here makes you not really care whether it's an FPGA or not.
I don't know. I would have to play with one, but I personally I would be leery about investing in the system because it's like I think the unit's like $400 for the system, and then each one of the modules is somewhere between $200 and $400. So this gets like crazy pricey to try to make this like your modular console of choice from the get go. It's a really expensive solution overall to the
It is.
problem. So I don't know how I feel about it from that
All
particular.
right. Have a great night, Slinger.
Yeah, now
Hold on,
Slinger, night man.
hang on. Let me click on you.
Yeah, because the base unit
And
is like
oh,
$549. This deluxe bundle, which comes with like four
hang on. I'm
different
following you.
adapters.
Hang on, Slinger. Let me follow you real quick.
Yeah, I think I've been
You.
following him for a little bit. I met him on Dharma's chat.
I play Stardew Valley, Crab Champions, Lethal Company, Talus Pro. Uh, all
He's got
right.
some good stuff on there,
Yeah.
and he could use some support. So if you guys aren't following him and you're on Rumble, please follow him. I know
Yeah.
he's been working on finding his audience on there.
Well, now he's got another one.
But
Um,
but look at
and they're
these. The
starting to put out their
modules are
own
like
collections.
$80 a piece.
Yeah,
which
the
is kind of
modules
crazy.
they do have a gun controller they're
Yeah,
working
the gun
on.
controller's cool. I like that.
They are trying to sell a couple of games now.
I see
I
that. They've
did
got
see
a couple
there.
of things on CD here and carts and stuff like that. The controller looks okay. I'm not a fan of this controller design personally. That squared controller design is kind
Yeah,
of
but I
not
believe
great. Evercade uses that and it's kind of uncomfortable.
yeah, but you could see they make controllers that look
They
like
do.
because
They have the Super Nintendo
that's
one. They
the
have the Genesis 6 button, which is the only
yeah.
one that you should ever buy if you have the option. And
But
then
you
you
see
have
how
the.
they're modeling them like that one
This looks like the
that
TurboGrafx. Yeah, that's
that
TurboGrafx.
does, but the one above it looks like an NES, right? So that's
It's
what that.
kind of an NES. It's modified, but yeah, it's
Oh.
kind of an NES controller. And then you've got your 3D. This looks almost like a 3D controller for the Saturn.
That or
Or actually, it looks like it's a modified version
of the N64.
N64.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of people complained about that central stock. So one of the popular solutions is to move the analog to the left and the D-pad down.
Yeah. And they must not be doing horrible because they're sold out and
I mean, they're selling. I mean, this one's on sale right now. It looks like you can
I mean
you could
that
pre-order it. It'll come out quarter 1.
yeah.
But
I mean, I don't
that's
have
expensive just to be able
that
to
is,
use your old stuff. That's $800 is a lot of money for something like that.
but it gives you so all right. So,
Yeah, it gives you basically Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Genesis, and TurboGrafx in the kit.
plus don't forget that the
And then
actual
whatever their base unit is, this looks like it might be PlayStation.
base unit is PS1, Saturn, Sega CD, 32X CD, Neo Geo CD, TurboGrafx CD, and something else. No, there the base unit. The base unit's legit if you have any of the 32-bit systems
Yeah, and
that
I think Sai kind of nails this. Polymega is kind of like owning a Winnebago. It can do a lot, but it's probably not your best option.
yeah, you
And that's
really
kind of
have
what it
to
feels like when you're looking at the Polymega.
yeah, you really have to you have to want it.
Yeah, it you have to have like looked at it, watched a bunch of videos on it, and really been hard sold on it.
Well,
Now,
but again, so if you go back and you look at what it costs to buy, if you're a collector and you go and you look at what it costs to pick up a Sega Saturn, a TurboGrafx CD, which you probably can't even find these days, a Neo Geo CD, a Sega CD, which you also need the Genesis and all that stuff for. By the time you look and buy all those separately, I, plus none of those are HDMI. I it's too rich for my blood, but I can see it if you are trying to actually collect all of those systems.
yeah, and Torso, that's cool. I thought about it, but I don't know if I want to try to go out and find a bunch of N64 games. And I would want. I'm wondering what controller they're going to have with that, or if you're going to have to use like the base N64 controllers with it. I'm not sure how that works because I haven't really seen the controller that they're packing with it. I would almost prefer they do it the way the Polymega one's designed. Like, let's go back to that, and I'll pull that back up again. Like, when you
Ooh,
go
I
back to the
found the
store,
Saru.
like when you're
All right.
looking at these controllers, I feel like this is almost the ideal way to do an N64 controller now in a modern day. I feel like that would be more comfortable for more people. I think the only
Yeah.
people that would suffer would be people like me that would want this section here to be modular so I could flip it around. And the reason I say that is because one of the things I really loved on the N64 was fighting games like Killer Instinct Gold, Mortal Kombat Trilogy, and stuff like that. And having the D-pad in that location, I think would feel weird because it's not one of the reasons I don't like using my Xbox controller for a lot of fighting games is because of the D-pad, and I found the analog kind of not fun. Um, so unless they either make it like that or allow you to use like arcade sticks and stuff like that that you can plug in and kind of make them work, that would be cool. And then I could just use an arcade stick for those and be done with it.
Now, underneath of the back of that, is there a trigger?
Uh,
There's got to be, right? There's
well,
got
it
to be.
looks like there's two. Looks like there's at least two triggers on the top.
Okay.
Because if you look at this button, if you look at it closely here on this side, you can see like a button here and here.
Right.
So I'm wondering if that's where they move some of those button locations.
They had to have because the underneath the analog stick,
Yeah, because that's where the Z button was. It did
that's
like
where the Z button
90% of your
is.
stuff. So they'd have to move that somewhere. So
I
one of
mean,
the other,
I could definitely see how this could be totally functional as long as that Z button's there.
yeah.
Scramble.
Oh, I'm sure the Z button's there. You're not going to do an N64 controller and not have a Z button. It wouldn't work, right? It's required.
Right.
You use the A base, put the 8-bit made a new one for it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, 8-bit made a new controller for that. And we'll talk about that we have a controller episode and we'll talk about that. I don't
Yep.
get too in the weeds with controllers because we have a whole topic where we want to talk about controllers. Ah,
By the
Scrambles is
way,
at work. Okay. Happy holidays,
yep.
Scrambles. Thank you for lurking, man.
Yeah.
What's up, Ty Lord? So another one that I found was Hyperkin. Now, Hyperkin's been around for a while, and they just basically kind of make more, I would call them more inexpensive consoles that allow you to
Yes.
play a lot of things in here. And they're kind of an inexpensive solution to be able to just kind of use the hardware. Because they've got a bunch of these in like different colors.
Yep.
I'm not sure how
They
much
are
these cost.
well, they are best known for their Retron series, which what you're showing here.
Yeah.
Like people have been using Retron honestly for a very, very long time. I
And
used
they're
to see this.
$90. That's pretty inexpensive to be able to do a bunch of the retro stuff here.
Yeah, it depends. They've got configurations for everything, both HDMI and non-HDMI. So you can get single consoles. You can get like there's an
Merry
NES
Christmas, Ty Lord.
single. So yep, Merry Christmas, Tyler.
Yeah, and he
There's
says that they were supposedly working on an N64 clone for a while too. Hyperchem was. And this is probably one of the most affordable ways if you're looking for a modern solution to try to get into retro gaming and you just
mhm.
want to put your money in the carts. Because this has slots that allow you to do NES, Super
Look at the
NES, and
look at the
Genesis, I
Retron
believe.
5
I believe
because
it does all three of those.
The Retron 5 is the one that does the most.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is NES, Super NES / Famicom, and Genesis Mega Drive. So
Yep.
it'll
Go,
do.
go
And the
back to the
reason that
list.
distinction is important is because there's a bunch of stuff that only came out on like the Famicom systems and only came out on
Yep.
the Mega Drive versus the Genesis, right? And the Mega Drive stuff was notorious for having like PAL resolutions and refreshes, which were like slightly lower than what was here in the States. And it's kind of a big deal because if you don't get that right, it looks all funky and runs bad. Um, so but it only does up to 720. But 720 is better than what you had before, which was at best
Exactly.
480 and most time not that much. So
Yep.
720 is not that bad, and most
And I'll
TVs
be
can.
honest with you, when I'm emulating, I emulate at 720
Yeah, and
because
most
that.
TVs will scale that too.
Yep.
They'll auto
But go
scale it to
go
where it
back
still
to the
looks
list.
clean.
Go back to the list and find the Retron 5 because that's the one
There's the
that
Retron 3.
there
There's the
should be one.
2.
Maybe it's down at the bottom.
There's the
Yeah, the bottom
1.
right, Retron 5 gaming system, because
Okay.
that's the one that does the most amount of consoles overall, including like the Master System and stuff like that.
Oh, it's got built-in Game Genie too. It looks like that's kind of neat.
Yeah, and that's still
I
only
kind of don't
180.
like that controller, but it kind of is what it is.
Right, but that's still only $180. I mean, that's not
Yeah, it's $180 for that. It's not that bad. I mean, you're gonna
not
pay
at
a lot
all.
more to get the cart you want, and it's not the most attractive. I'm not saying this is an attractive looking system. In my mind, it's not,
Oh
but
no,
it
it's
does the
ugly. It's thin.
job, right? So this does NES, Famicom, Super NES, Super Famicom, Genesis, Mega Drive, Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advanced, all with enhanced resolution, improved interpolated sound, screenshot capture, and the ability to have on-the-fly save files, which is cool.
Yep.
So this is actually a really good option for new people getting in that want to get into retro, but don't want to try to grab all these consoles, don't want to try to figure out a modem, don't want to have to get an old CRT, etc., etc., etc. And you want to do it more legitimately, not through emulation, right? You have to be in the mood. You have to be in that headspace where I want to collect cards, right? That's what these are for.
And if you don't like the cartridge slot or the cartridge slot, if you don't like the wireless controller on the sides are controller ports.
Yes.
So you
So you
can
can
plug
use like
controllers.
different controllers with it and everything like that.
Yep. And it's got an SD card slot in the back for screenshots and whatnot like
Yeah.
that. It's it is a it is a competent machine. It is not the best thing you're going to get out there, but it is a competent machine.
Yeah. And it's in a better price point than a lot of these because like the analog stuff is expensive. I mean, if
Yes.
you're looking at their products, you're looking at 300 and up, right? I mean, when you're looking at Polymega, you're kind of starting with a console around
At
400.
550. 550
Yeah,
for
you're
the
you're
base
looking
unit.
at 550 all the way up to like 800, depending on which one you want to grab into, and then they have the digital gift cards for their digital games and stuff. You're probably going to get a better experience out of it, but you're definitely going to pay a lot more for it.
Yep.
This is a much more approachable option that I feel most people could feel comfortable affording for like a retro hobby. If you're not going to get like retro consoles like the Sega the Sega Mini, right? Or the Super Nintendo Mini or the PlayStation Classic
Well,
or these Game Gear Micro things. We got to stop and talk
right.
about these for a minute because these things were
Oh,
silly. These
they were
things would
dumb.
literally fit in the palm of my hand, and they were actually smaller than the palm of my hand. And you had like four or five of these things. Yeah, they have four. They had Black, which came with Outrun, Puyo Puyo, Tuso, Roll Stone, and Sonic the Hedgehog. The blue one came with Baku Baku Animal, Shingai Shikugari, Shinsen, Gunstar Heroes, Sonic Tails, and Sylvan Tail. The yellow one, which came with Noyo Poyo, Area No Rolux, Shining Force 2, and Shining Force Final Conflict. And then the red one came with Columns, the Game Gear version of Shinobi, which a lot of those Game Gear Shinobi games are really good.
Yeah, they were.
Mega Tensei
The
Gaiden
Game Gear version of Sonic was damn good.
wasn't bad. No, for what it wasn't bad.
I
Last Bible, Mega Tensei Gaiden, and Last Bible Special. And these were primarily hit in Japan. You didn't see a lot of these in the States, even though I thought they were going to get a stateside release. They primarily landed in Japan. And yes, I know I butchered every bit of Japanese in that.
so Ty Lord. Okay,
I
so
begin Retro 5. It's competent.
it's competent, and that's as far. So to be fair, that the and I was starting to get there. There is I wasn't going to go any farther than competent because if you're okay with some of the quirks of a cheaper emulating system, like in some games, so Tylord said he's got the Retron 3 for CRT. It works good with everything,
Yeah.
but the
He
color's
said the
kind of
colors
off,
are a little
right?
goofy.
There are these consoles are also notorious for having audio issues. But if you are not an audiophile, if
And I'm going to
all
go
you
back to
want to
Hyperkin because
do,
you guys are talking about Hyperkin.
if all you want to do is just play some games and you don't necessarily care so much about them being 1000% pixel perfect, these are competent machines to play your games on, right? The Atari stuff, the Atari 7800, that is built and it's more expensive because it's built differently, right? Atari is taking a lot more care, and I'm not taking a shot at Hyperkin on this. I'm just saying, Hyperkin is sort of like, the other company. I don't know if you were going to look them up. AT Games was the
I
other
forgot
one.
to look them up, but you're right.
They sucked. They constantly sucked. They always had problems. So in fact, Sega used them to make a lot of their Genesis remakes. I don't think they made the Genesis 3 specifically, but they made a version of it later on. Um,
Apparently, they're getting in on pinball.
they are now.
Oh, it's electronic pinball. That's what it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're trying to hone in on a cheaper version of the one up.
Yeah, that brings up Arcade One Up, which I hadn't brought up, and I think most everybody's seen these.
Yes,
This company is kind of hard to avoid. Let's be honest.
they amazingly still sell these at Walmart and Best Buy.
Yeah, they're everywhere, dude.
I've been
They're
trying
in
to find every.
they're in major retail stores, and I've bought one of these before. I bought one for a buddy of mine, and he loves it. He puts it up, and I
I've
got
got
him
a
the
friend that's
it
got a
was like
whole
the
back
Marvel
row of them,
superheroes
and
one, and he loves
yep,
that cabinet.
I've got a friend that's got a whole back row of them, and for him, it's perfect. And where X arcades, you kind of have you're kind of up and down with them in some cases. The the price of them have skyrocketed because they're the best game in town and they know it.
Yeah,
So,
these are crazy expensive. This Marvel versus Capcom 2. I mean, it's great to have in an arcade cabinet, but that's $400.
yep,
Mind you,
they are.
it comes with 8 games. So for eight
Yeah,
games, that's not bad. And it's completely focused on the fighting line. Like all the fighting games that you would want are on there. With admittedly, I don't know for this kind of retro, I probably wouldn't have gone with the X-Men 97 cabinet. I wouldn't have gone that way, but it's what they decided to do because they expected X-Men 97. Understandably, is not a bad show. I just wouldn't have done it for a retro cabinet personally.
and they've tried to get into some other things as well. They've got some of those old pizza shop like
Yeah, like these.
the head to heads, used to play it at Pizza Hut. So you get that
And
nostalgia
these are
for.
cool cabinets. I've seen,
They are
if you've
very
ever
cool
seen any of
cabinets.
these in like a Pizza Hut or any other place, these things are fun. They're neat, mostly because you can like keep your food on them. They're easy to clean up, and that kind of stuff. You don't have to worry about making a mess on it. They're made to be in restaurants and bars and things like that. So they're cool for that kind of crowd, right? And you could
Yep.
just sit on them in a normal chair. You don't need like a stool or anything like that. And then they've actually got some of these countercades. This is something that
Yeah.
Evergate started to get into, and I was going to talk about them a little bit too. They started getting into these. And these are kind of neat little things because you can just set them on the countertop and then sit down and give them a whirl. And they're small enough that they're kind of inobtrusive.
Yes.
It's not a pizzeria arcade unless it's covered in grease and has an
Grease.
annoying kid banging on the buttons.
Well, right, or it's broken.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I I know a lot of people have come not to like One Up. I respect
I know a
what
few
they're
people who really
doing.
don't like them because they think they're too expensive for what they are. Like I know
Yes.
Chuck
They
really
even
doesn't
have a
like them
claw machine now.
because
I was just looking.
he's a big fan of the original cabinets. They're a larger size. They have better construction.
Fair.
Um,
Totally fair.
but they only have the one game, right? You don't have multiple games on there like you do these,
And
and
they're
those tend to run like 800 and up, right?
correct.
So for less than that, you can get one of these. Is it as good? No, absolutely not. However, it's something that most people can fit in their house easier. They
Hmm.
can get it delivered to their house easier, and the assembly's not too bad. I put one of these together myself. The assembly's not too bad on them, and they play good. Like they legitimately play pretty solid.
They do. They do. I remember, and I was looking to see. I mean, this was the company that licensed. I don't know
And
if it was
here's that
Sega
claw
or if it was
machine you were
Lucas
talking about.
to make they licensed to put out the Star Wars collection
Yep.
with the real Star Wars with the authentic Star Wars controller. Um,
It looks like they pared down on a lot of these too, because the Star Wars one was up here for a while,
yeah, I don't see.
and I think it's kind of gone away now. However, they
Yeah,
still
it
have their
looks like
Time Crisis one, which is actually pretty slick because they probably got, and they've even got the pedal.
yeah, yeah. Look, I can't. I don't see a lot of them anymore.
Yeah, a
Like a
lot of them
lot
have
of them
gone
are gone.
away. So they've really trimmed down. I'm guessing they just didn't want to keep them around, and they might bring them back in a new cabinet or something like that. Maybe.
Maybe.
Star Wars wasn't real, Mike. I hate to break it to you.
Thanks.
I wonder if the claw machine is right too. It depends on how tightly you like stuff that thing.
Right.
That's gonna get clipped. Luckily, my Pizza Hut had Fatal Fury Arcade. It was never greasy, nor was it the tabletop Play Choice 10 that was there. Wow, Play Choice 10 was there. That's dope. Going back to these mini consoles, Sega actually had two of these.
They
Again,
did.
for a non-retro console, they had a lot of these.
And the second one had some Sega CD stuff on it that was
Yup,
awesome.
yup. The NES Mini Classic. I actually kind of want to get one of these. I wonder how much this is on here. I bet you it's like $200.
And that's one you can mod. You
Yeah,
can
yeah.
break.
I've got the Super Nintendo one, but it'd be nice to have the NES one, which I don't even see up here right now. And then you've got this Astro City. I saw a bunch of people trying to play this one, this Astro City
Yeah.
one, and it kind of had mixed reviews. Kind of honestly, and I didn't even know there was a Game Boy Mini. I don't think this is official. This is definitely not official. That looks too
No.
jank to be official. Yeah, that's got to be that's something somebody else put together that they're selling. That they throw a bunch of Game Boy games on there. That's not a legit one. And then the other one that we have is Evercade, which has
And
gotten into a
that's
lot of stuff lately. They have a
it
ton of
has.
hardware now. They've always been bigger on their hardware. Like they've got these arcade, like you know, I forget what their countertop ones. And then they managed to get the Legacy of Kain collection. They managed to get the Tomb Raider collection. And most of these will run on this stuff, except for these tabletop things. These are just what they are, right? So these, I think, only have like a couple of games. The Mega Man one, I think, has like 2 or 3 different Mega Man games on it, and the Street Fighter one has like 6 different Street Fighter games. You know, a bunch of versions of two. See, they put these in here, and then they put Carrier R-Wing, Knights of the Realm, Final Fight. It's very confusing. I don't know why they did that with that. You could have
I
put
don't
just more
either.
Mega Man games on there, but maybe they couldn't get the license because it doesn't even look like they got. Yeah, it looks like it's a beat 'em up collection, is what it is for that one. Because even the Mega Mans they got aren't the mainline Mega Mans. Like this Power Battle
No.
looks like
Power
something
Battle.
completely different.
Now, Strider though.
Yeah,
Strider's the odd man out.
Yeah, Strider's like an odd man out on that one. It's weird.
And I guess Carrier Air Wing, which is a shmup.
Yeah,
I'm
that's just
assuming.
mop. It's kind of weird. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but I mean, you've got these, and then they have their VSR. I've got the earlier version of the VS that's a different color than this. This is a newer revision of it that works with their updated Evercade. That they have their handheld unit, the one that you can hold like vertically and does was it uh Tate mode, Tate.
Yep, Tate. Very good.
And this
I
is
have
not bad. Now
one.
you have to wait a little to get some of these. Some of the cards get retired, etc. They have numbers, they have manuals and stuff. And if you're real OCD about having all the numbers in a sequence, this will drive you crazy trying to get
Oh
all
yeah.
of them.
Oh yeah. Because there were a
Might
couple
be
at the
cheap
beginning.
Chinese handhelds that have no official. No, I would never suggest such a thing. Just go look on
Never,
Amazon for like $10. You can get all of them.
never. And they have 50,000
Fifty
games.
thousand games. Yeah, it's like ridiculous. You can get them on AliExpress and Temu and all those places now. It's crazy. The NES original and relaunch, including a bootleg console. Nothing like playing Chip and Dale on it. Nah, I could totally see that. Now everybody wants original pan pizza from Pizza Hut.
Yeah. And a soda in one of the red cups.
You know, I've got Jet's Pizza downstairs, and that you guys may not have that around where you're at. I think it might be more local, but they do that kind of like almost Detroit / Pizza Hut pan pizza, where it's got like all that kind of like crusty doughiness that you're looking for out of that kind of pizza. It's not bad. It's kind of grown on me. It wasn't my favorite to start, but my wife loves it for some reason, so I've kind of gotten accustomed to it. I'm more of a New York style pizza guy myself.
Yeah, I am too. You give me a good New York style pizza and I'm good.
But those red plastic cups were freaking iconic.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah,
God,
Jet's
yes.
Pizza isn't bad. I mean, I would like it to be
Pizza
a
Hut
little bit
pizza
less
was
Detroit style and
great.
have a little bit more sauce. But it's more Detroit style than it is like standard pan pizza. It's solid pizza though. I had a slice of it tonight. We bought a couple of pies because we knew it was going. And I told Nicole, I'm like, because she was like, she's like, well, it's kind of early to order dinner. I'm like, I'm telling you right now, everybody's fridge is packed with either stuff for like Hanukkah or Christmas, and they're not cooking because all that fridge is packed with everything they're going to cook on the day of Christmas. They are not cooking right now, so delivery and going to a restaurant is going to take time.
Except for Chinese restaurants, they'll all be open on Christmas.
They'll all be open on Christmas, and
And
people
we'll
can get
all
food.
and we'll
People
all
can
be
get
there.
food there.
Yes.
Yeah, but but if you're ordering,
That's what we
anything, we're
actually
spending
might
money.
do. That's what we actually might do. Now, my mother's going to bring over potato latkes, which are potato pancakes. But
I
now
thought
that I
that was
think
a
about
standard
it,
Jewish tradition. You go get Chinese food.
that's what we might do.
I thought that's what happened on Christmas. Like you guys,
That is
everybody
what
else
you
does
do.
Christmas.
Or
You guys go get Chinese food.
and you go to the movies because the
Right.
movies are open.
That I almost every person I know of Jewish descent that I've been friends with, that seemed to be their family tradition. They all
That
do.
was, and we do.
I just thought
actually,
it was just a cultural thing that everybody did.
well, because it's the only thing open.
That's fair. That's fair.
I mean, really, that it's the only thing open. So that's what we would do: is we would eat Chinese food and go to the movies, because there wasn't anything else we could do. Now, the one year we did
See,
was
their round pizza is
because
pretty good too. We got one of those the other day too, and that's pretty good.
because it's my wife's birthday on the 25th. I did take her one
Chinese
year.
dinner like a Christmas story.
There you go. I did take her one year to a place, a Brazilian steakhouse called. Oh crap! Now it's on the tip of my tongue.
I forgot about that, Sai. It's awesome.
Latkes are great,
Latkes are
zombie.
good.
You know that,
Latkes
dude. And
are
my
good
mother
stuff.
makes them. My mother makes them so good. Like nobody. We had our Hanukkah party also on Friday, at the temple, and it was catered. And the potato pancakes were fine, but they're nothing like my mother's. And I'm not saying that because she's my mother. I'm saying that because they are to die for. So she'll bring over a whole batch of them. We'll have that. We'll have some Chinese food. Might watch a movie.
You could watch Die Hard. It counts as an action movie and a Christmas movie.
It's not a Christmas movie.
It's totally a Christmas movie.
My kids aren't old enough. Well, my oldest is. My other two kids are not old enough for the Hebrew Hammer.
I think I've looked that up before, and I blocked it.
You
out
have,
of my
because
mind.
I've told you about it before.
Yeah, but I've blocked it out of my mind. I probably had good cause.
Oh, it is. It's a Jew exploitation film.
Yeah.
But come on, it has Andy Dick as Santa Claus trying to steal Hanukkah. It's totally a great movie.
See, Die Hard literally takes place during a Christmas party. It's a Christmas movie, sir. And he even gives him a Christmas present. He puts one of the guys in the elevator, drops it down, and puts, now I have a machine gun too. Ho, ho, ho. He even gives Raps a 9mm on his back. How much more Christmas do you want?
It's a story about a desperate insurgent.
I mean,
Against
okay,
a
I can go with that
vastly
too. I mean, I
superior-
count Lethal Weapon among Christmas movies. That whole thing happens around Christmas. Counts. We could totally
Don't watch-
argue like what counts as a Christmas movie, not counts as a Christmas movie now if you want to. I feel like we've actually talked about this topic and covered this. Unless there's something else you want to talk about modding or emulation or anything like that that you want to cover. I feel like we've covered emulation a lot though.
We have. So there's one more that I have to bring up. It modernizes the retro scene, and I would be remiss if I did not bring up Antstream, because
That's
I've
fair.
been playing.
That's fair.
I've been playing the crap out of it and realizing
He's an
that
Antstream partner. He's a sellout.
I still bought mine. It did work out that way. They made me a partner after I bought the lifetime subscription on Xbox and started streaming it. But the thing that
See, I did the Latkes with applesauce, and I'm wondering if sour cream might be the better direction to go because
sour
the
cream
ones
is
I
mine.
had with the applesauce kind of, I didn't get as much of the potato flavor because of the applesauce.
No, because the applesauce goes over top of it.
Right.
Sour cream is mine. That's my go-to for latkes.
Scramble says he worked with a guy with a tattoo on the waist of his
waist.
back of a 9mm taped with holiday tape. That's awesome.
And now I just found a great article. 8 reasons why Die Hard is actually the ultimate Hanukkah movie.
I'm telling you, man, Die Hard fits almost all holidays.
While the villainous Hans Gruber is no Nazi, this movie features the most gleeful dispatching of German bad guys since the Wolfenstein series. There it is.
He does kill a lot of Germans.
He does kill a lot of Germans. Die Hard screenwriter Stephen D. D'Souza is descended from Spanish and Portuguese Jews. See? Like John McClane, the other J-Mac, Judah Maccabee was outnumbered and outgunned, but he was able to turn the Greek superior firepower against them. Now I have a sword and chariot. Oh, ho,
Ho,
ho.
ho.
There it is. There it is.
See, it's Christmas and Hanukkah and an action film.
It is a Christmas film.
How are you going to argue this? This is perfect.
That's getting posted on X, and I will take the hate.
I don't think you're going to get much hate for saying Die Hard works for Hanukkah as well as it does for Christmas.
Oh, I will. Because
Mike just gets the hate. It seems to be a Mikeism.
yeah.
So, I guess on
but-
the topic
so-
of holidays and everything coming up, we can throw this out to the chat too, because I wouldn't mind getting into the holidays a little bit. We're going for an hour and a half. We usually go for 2 hours anyway. And I feel like between all that, we've kind of covered kind of what you can do with what's going on. And then the controllers scene, we're going to cover another day. So what has everybody kind of got planned for the holidays? I know mine's going to be kind of low key. If my buddy's feeling better, he'll be coming over and hanging out with us, and we'll exchange just Christmas gifts. We have like a little platter. We're going to do like sandwiches and stuff. So we're not going to do a ton of cooking or anything like that. That was kind of how my grandparents did it. They always cooked big for Thanksgiving. And then like Christmas Eve was always like sandwiches and chips and, you know, and might be macaroni salad or deviled eggs or whatever, you know, that kind of stuff. Stuff that's easy to prep together that you can just kind of bring over, and then everybody can kind of just fix it as they want and just chill, right? So that's kind of how we're going to do things this year. We've done the big meal, and that's nice. It's quite nice. Um, but we're going to do this year, and I think it's going to be nice and relaxing. We're looking forward to it. So that's kind of what we've got going on. Mike, kind of what have you got going on for the holidays? I know Hanukkah starts the same day as Christmas, which is
Yep.
kind of wild, but the lunar calendar is bizarre. So,
Yep. And I mean, everything was late this year. So, um, yeah. So, mother and sister are going to come over. We'll do some, like I said, we'll eat some latkes, have some Chinese food, exchange gifts, just kind of chill. Um, I believe, unless he tells me otherwise, unless his wife decides that she's
I love this idea, by the way.
oh
Make Kukapan pizza
oh
top with latkes now.
ooh
That
that might
honestly, I think that would work. I'm not gonna lie, I think that might work. You just make
that might
small little latkes, and you can treat them like pepperoni.
that I you have my attention, sir.
I'm
I
telling
need
you,
to know
man. Like
I need to know
like
how that comes
cheese,
out.
the sauce,
So
the little mini latkes. You make them kind of thin. You know what I mean? They'd
yeah,
fry up nice and crisp, but they'd still have that. You make them just thick enough so they had that flakiness on the inside.
yeah.
I
So
think that would work.
man, I'm interested in hearing it,
I think this is like a new Jewish thing that you need to make a thing, Mike. I feel like you need to do this now.
and it would be kosher because it's not meat.
Yeah.
So, but the rest of the week is going to be pretty normal. So tomorrow night, either Peter and I are going to be on because Peter did mention that they're not doing anything Christmas Eve. So he may be on with me. I'll be on regardless because it's just Tuesday night for me.
Right.
Um,
Well, we don't
so
do a ton for Christmas Eve around my house either. A lot of times we'll open presents at like midnight, so we'll stay up late and we'll open presents at night instead of doing it in the morning. That way we clean up the house before we have company over.
there you go.
Um, but that's about the only thing that we do, right? We don't have a. I used to have the tradition of going to my grandparents' house, but they've all passed at this point, so that and I don't even live near my family anymore, so it's not even a thing.
Okay. Well, and then during the day on the 25th, we like to leave my wife alone to rest and relax. And I mean, all the kids are home. All three kids are home. Jacob's home from college, and the other two are
Yeah, but you can
off
dogpile
school.
your kids downstairs and you guys like playing your Amico and shit like that.
That's exactly what we're gonna do. So
Yeah.
we're either gonna do a family stream that day, or we're gonna save that for Saturday afternoon, and I'm gonna do some more Indiana Jones because I am freaking hooked on that game. Um, and then
Yeah, I do want to start playing some more of that. There's a couple of other
it,
games I kind of want to kick off
so
and get
good.
started too. I've thought about trying to boot up Witcher 3 again. The problem I have with Witcher 3 is my wife loves that game. And it's not that I don't like the game. It's just that she gets really excited to talk about it because now it's something we have in common. But she'll talk about things I haven't done yet. And I'm like, I can't get to the point where I can have a good conversation with you on things I haven't done yet. So I
Okay.
have to be able to play the game, and I won't play the game while she's in here because she's talking to me. And I'm like, I have to be able to play the game to have the conversation with you, but I can't play the game because you want to talk about the. I'm stuck in a Cat 52.
It's a catch 22. If
Catch
you're in a
22. That's
52,
it. I'm
if you're in a
stuck.
52, you might need to burn your house down and move.
I mean, it's fair. I really don't want to
Um,
buy another house in this market, though.
that's a good point too. So, but then Thursday, I'm gonna be back Thursday night at the arcade. Friday night, we're playing COD again. I mean, that's been fun. I cannot believe I'm playing Call of Duty, dude.
I have
I
never,
never
and
thought
you play a couple of games I just never had any interest in.
I
Like
didn't
COD is one
either.
of those I played it a little bit with a buddy
I
at
didn't
one
either.
point, and then he started like really getting into it, and he had all these perks and stuff, and so he's just dropping like freaking like airstrikes on us and stuff, and I'm like, where the fuck did you unlock that? He's like, well, I'm level 52, and I'm like, dude, I'm level 5.
Dude, I cannot believe, seriously, shout out to Peter for getting me into that because I cannot. Well, in Game Pass, I wouldn't play it if it wasn't in Game Pass because I
I
don't
don't want to
I
play it,
don't.
and it's on Game Pass.
That's the only reason that I tried it. And so the thing is, on Fridays we're getting 8 to 10 people into our Xbox party, and we're
Pixel!
Pixel
We got a
Sister
raid,
Kitty.
folks. I got no animation for a
Oh,
raid. I got to work on that. I need like a raid thing.
I do too. It's the one. Well, I have a
Well,
raid
you've
one.
got
What I
it
need
from
is
like
a
Runbot, so you at least have that kicks off. I don't have anything
yeah.
that I do like that right now.
Um, but we've been having a lot of fun with it, and I didn't think that I would. But I think a lot of the fun that I'm having is because I'm with friends.
Yeah,
And then Saturday I'm taking my wife out to dinner for her birthday, and Sunday I'll be back for more.
I kind of want
Yeah.
to start doing kind of a thing with like rivals. I just don't know what would be a good day to do it to get people involved because I was doing it for a little bit and pushing to do that tournament, and then Kitty Pounce,
Always love the kitty pouts.
Pixel, and that kind of fell through because we only had 3 people that were ready, and then as far as I know, that just dropped, right? But the game's fun, and it's a fun game, particularly if you're just doing like casual and you're not trying to take it like all hardcore, right? So it's kind of a fun experience, and if you're up for a hero shooter and playing like a role, I could see having a lot of fun with it, particularly with the Marvel IP behind it, right? That
Oh
adds
yeah.
kind of a certain je ne sais quoi to it that you don't get out of a lot of those, you know. And you could call it like budget Overwatch, which is fair. It kind of is, but I don't know. I've had less in the little amount of time that I've played it. I've had less toxicity come out of people in Marvel Rivals than I have in Overwatch. Overwatch had a big problem with it for a long time, with people being really toxic. And it may be better now. I never really got too deep back into it, but I know there's a bunch of people in Rumble that play Rivals here and there. I just don't.
They are.
I don't drive
Yeah.
with their times.
It's the new hotness for some people.
It's free. That's why.
True. Very
You know, you
true.
got to just install it. It's free. So, and all the characters are there. There's no like paywalls behind them or abilities or anything like that. They sell skins. So if you want like a particular skin, you can buy that for, I think they're like maybe $10 a piece. And the nice thing about skins in that game versus Overwatch is you actually see the skin because you're in third person while you're playing, right? It's more Fortnite esque with the perspective. So you're actually seeing the skin that you paid for as opposed to Overwatch where you'll just see the gun, right? And you'll see it on an end screen. So I feel like it's a better use of skins, right? Because you get to see it more. So
Right.
from that perspective, it's nice. And I thought if I got into it, I'd buy a couple of skins for it because, particularly for characters I played, like they have one for Storm that's back in like her 80s era where she did like the mohawk and the whole punk rock look when she lost her powers. So they've got like that skin for her. They've got one for Jeff that and Jeff is a weird character. I didn't even know Jeff existed till this game. So he's kind of a weird character. I'm not going to get too much of that, but Jeff the Land Shark is
Yeah.
interesting.
Right.
He's an interesting
Iron
character.
Man, Captain America,
Yeah,
the Hulk.
you got your Hulk, your Iron Man, your Captain America, your Spider Man,
Yeah.
your Loki, your Hawkeye, uh,
Jeff.
Psylocke's in there, Iron Fist is in there. There's a lot of most of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, 3 of the people from the Guardians of the Galaxy. You've got Groot, you got Star Lord, you got Rocket. Rocket's a support, which I thought was weird.
That is weird.
I thought he would be
Well,
like a DPS, but he's a support.
well, maybe. I maybe.
I mean, it works. He does fine. It's just a weird niche that they put him into that I didn't expect him to fit into.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that's been kind of fun. I do want to do more Indiana Jones. There's a couple of games that I'm wanting to get back into. Like I want to start doing more Street Fighter Online and stuff like that. I want to start doing Tekken Online. I want to get back in the habit of playing with my buddy again. Because I've got a real life friend that we've been playing that with occasionally. He went on vacation. I haven't heard much from him since. I imagine he's probably still on vacation. I don't know if he took like a couple of weeks off or 1 week off or how much time he took. I know he went off and he was gonna pick up this. they he found a cat that he wanted, but it was gonna be in the location that he was gonna be because he was going to Louisiana, I think, to see another friend. And
Okay.
they had a cat there that they had named Wink because he only has one eye. One of his eyes is gone. And I'm like, you should really just name it. You should, if he doesn't answer to his name, I'd name him like Willie for One Eyed Willie. That's what I call him. I get him a little eye
That
patch and everything. It'd be great.
that's great.
Purr. That'd totally be what I'd name that cat. So yeah, I'm wanting to get into that. I'm working on a bunch of videos. It's gonna be kind of a low key holiday season. Looking forward to New Year's Eve. A really good fish place that we found around here. It's
Oh,
weird. Colorado's the strangest area. Like we're completely landlocked. There's not a lot of ways to get a lot of fresh seafood, except for out of the rivers and stuff like that, where you can get stuff like bass and things like that. The standard fare. But since it's an international airport, and so many people land there, and so much commerce goes through there, you can actually get like flash frozen, fish that they're transporting from places like Japan and all things like that. So you can get really good seafood around here. It's just pricey, right? Because of the nature of what it is. So we're probably
well, and
gonna.
you're in a landlocked, you're in a landlocked state. It's not like you can.
But you can get some killer seafood around here. It's kind of shocking. But we went to this place and it's called Jack's, and it was really good. So we're really looking forward to going to their New Year's. The One Eye Kitty. That's right.
I have a band gig for the first time in like a decade on New Year's Eve.
Really, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. It's actually an overnight too. I gotta. We're far enough away. We gotta stay.
That'll
So.
be fun though. You'll have fun doing that.
Oh yeah, it'll be a blast. I haven't done it. I haven't done a New Year's Eve band gig in, like I said, in a decade. So, so that's all my holiday stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I got planned too. I'm not. I know, but I'm not supposed to know that I'm getting a new record player, which is partially why we bought the receiver.
Nice.
Well, I mean, it was kind of one of those things that was kind of hard to hide because we never do this, and I should probably start doing this. Just pay to have Amazon like wrap gifts, because for like a couple extra bucks, they'll just wrap it and send it to you. Instead of you having to wrap it when it's there. And since we do most of our shopping online now anyway through like Amazon and other sites,
Hmm.
it's kind of an easy tack on. And especially for like when I'm sending things home, right? Because I'll buy stuff and I'll send it to my mom for like their Christmas, and she ends up wrapping it. So every year she knows immediately what my dad got and what she got because she's the one that wraps it. So she knows everything she gets for Christmas before Christmas because I don't have it wrapped. So it would be good to do that for her. But this just came in like they didn't even have this in an Amazon box. So even if I didn't know that she ordered it, it just came in the box for the turntable, right? So
Nice.
I knew exactly what it was when it showed up. I'm like, wow, this was so well concealed for the holidays. As I pulled it in, and it's got the name of it all over it.
All right. Well, just be surprised. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, oh.
Oh.
But yeah, I gave her a list of like vinyls and a couple of other things and stuff like that that I would like to have. So we'll see how it comes out. There'll be some stuff that's kind of a surprise, and most of her stuff, she knows it's all Lego because I told her just like I went Lego crazy on you this year. I'm like, so if you want to buy a kit and I tell you don't buy that kit, well, you just discovered one of your presents. Luckily, I don't think she nailed any of them, so it should all be ones that I know she wants, that she's looked at and said she wants, but she hasn't bought. Because I told her, I'm like, I gotta cut you off at some point. I know you'll go in there, you'll save up a couple paychecks, and go into the Lego store and you'll buy like 9 kits.
Nice.
Dude, Honestly,
Yeah.
I went out and specifically bought two albums that I didn't have on my list. I bought two Rush albums, Power Windows and Moving Pictures. Those are two of my favorite ones, and I'm holding off on playing them until I get the new record player hooked up because it's supposed to be much nicer. So I cannot wait to hear those on vinyl. Honestly, it's been the weirdest thing. Like I thought it was all just like psychological for people, so I bought like a $200 record player. I'm like, let's give it a shot. So I got that and a Bluetooth speaker,
Very nice.
and hooked it up. And even through a Bluetooth speaker, which is not ideal, I'll be the first one to tell you guys that, had its own preamp that worked with the Bluetooth speaker. Right, so I'm talking like bare bones. This is as low level as you probably want to get. And I'll be damned if it didn't already sound better. Already. Even with that low end setup. Dude, Moving Pictures is amazing. Fly By Night's another great one. Love that album too. Quick, the electronics store closes in an hour. What should I get? An adult 90s kid under 200? Depends on what they're into.
Oh,
90s kid under $200. I mean, if you're
a
going for
Walkman.
nostalgia, you could get them a couple of Tamagotchis if they're there.
There you go, a
Those
Walkman.
those are always fun. If they have any handheld consoles, like a GBA or Game Boy Color,
Yeah.
if you want to go retro, those are good to get. I just don't know what would be in the electronics store. What would be in the electronics store? Because a standard electronics store is not going to carry many of those things. Arcade one-ups would be too expensive.
Very much.
You couldn't get those. Any of the like the 90s movies and stuff like that, they still carry physical copies of movies, and they have them. Like I know True Lies
Get him a
got
laser
released
disc
on
player.
like Blu-ray. Do what?
Get him a laser disc player.
That's 70s though. They got
No,
big again in the
no,
90s. I
no.
grant you that, but Laserdisc
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
around in the late 70s.
Well, there was a different, there was a different, it was a different type of laser disc in the 70s.
Okay, I'll grant you that. I mean, you could get them. You could get him a VHS player. That'd be very
Get him a
80s, 90s.
CD, get him a CD player.
Pixel, it's always a joy to have you in here hanging out as much as you can.
Yes, you know we love you.
I know you're scrambling for like 90s ideas, but 90s stuff is not where I wouldn't go to a big box electronics store. I would go to like a retro store, right?
Yeah.
I would try to find a retro store and jump in there, but it may be too late for that, honestly, because most of those may be already be closed for the evening. I mean, if you were in like a retro collector store, I'd say like a Game Boy, GBA, maybe a card or something like that, because you could probably get one of those for under 200. A record player is another option if they want to get into vinyl. I don't think you get any benefit from a tape deck or a CD deck versus anything that we have now, so that would be kind of be, eh. So those would be kind of some of the things I'd recommend, because I know vinyl's kind of making a comeback. I think physical, I don't know, everybody tells me that like physical media is going away, but I keep seeing stuff like Mandalorian and Andor and all these shows come out on physical media. I keep seeing releases of movies like Escape from LA and Total Recall and all these hitting 4K. So they're still making and releasing things on physical. It's just taking them longer.
Yes.
Digital comes out first, and then the physical comes out. Like Godzilla Minus One's gotten a physical release. Most of the newer movies and stuff a lot of them are still getting physical releases. So you're still seeing a lot of that stuff go that way, and I think more people are kind of wanting that now because they're getting fed up with the quality out of the streaming services. The fidelity of the video isn't there anymore because they just don't have the bandwidth and they don't have the storage, and they don't want to invest in it because they're not making enough money. And they're trying to pump out their own original content. They're not carrying as much of the content that people want to see on there. So people like me that want to see the old Total Recall occasionally, and people either mislabel the title card and put the old title card for Total Recall on the new Total Recall, and I end up watching the new one. Not that that's a bad movie, but when I click on the one that has Arnold's face on it, I want to see that one. Right?
Right.
That's the one I signed up to see. So stuff like that, That's the reason I buy those on physical. There's stuff like Escape from LA, Escape from they have. I think it's good to have that kind of collection if you can allocate the space.
Oh, what just happened? Wait, I lost your mic. Nick, your mic went out.
Damn it.
There it is.
Okay.
It's almost like a wire moved.
Yeah, I just unplugged it and plugged it back in again. I don't know what's
Okay.
going on. Let me check the audio levels too. Maybe something's funky there. But maybe that's another topic too that we need to cover at some point. Like, uh, just the space requirements of trying to collect in a modern era. Not only how do you how expensive it is, but the space. You know, collecting anything in a modern era can be a struggle, just because of the amount of physical space it all requires. Right? Did I go out again?
No, I hear you.
Okay. I
Yep.
was like, damn it. I was about to be like, all right, we're calling it. There we are.
So.
Properties. Levels. Oh, I'm at 44. Why am I down that low? There. That should make things significantly louder. There we go. Okay. And -1's amazing. I love that movie. That's probably one of the best Godzilla movies I've seen.
Yeah, it
ever.
took
And I've watched a lot of the old Godzilla movies, and I like those. Don't get me wrong.
yeah. I took Jacob to that one. We really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's an excellent movie. It's got a great story. It had a lot of heart. The actors really put their all into it. It was a fantastic movie. Taking Silent Night to the next level. Well, you know, if I could get like the closed captions thing to just pop up and just do that, and then we could just mouth things, that'd be great. I'd put some black and white. That'd be kind of dope. But I think I might get us out of here a little early. You might have work in the morning, and
I do.
you do. Okay.
I do.
I want to say it should be pretty quiet because normally the holidays kind of deaden everything.
Oh, I got stuff going on though.
Okay.
I definitely have things going on tomorrow.
I'd say my company kind of went into lockdown, so there's not. This was a great week for people to take off because I work in the cable industry and because everybody's off for the holidays. They generally don't want to do work during this week, so it'll be like from this week through the new year. They won't want to really touch the system much, if at all, because they want to leave it alone. So hopefully it's as stable as it can be through the holidays. Because
Right.
everybody's visiting family and stuff, and having your cable go out or your internet go out during the time that a lot of people take off, not a good look.
No, it's not.
So they don't want to deal with any of that nonsense. But so you've kind of talked a little bit about what you've got going on this week, but go ahead and give it a whirl anyway. That way, anybody
I did.
that came
I
late
went through the
kinda
whole.
knows.
Yeah, I went through the whole week. I'm good.
Okay. All right, you guys can rewind. I have a video coming out this week. I think this one's on. I think it's Demon Souls. I think that's what I'm covering this week. It's part of my Genre Makers series, so that's how I was going to end the year. And then next year I have one coming out on Virtual Fighter. I'm hoping, I want to make sure I time that one when it comes out near the release of the Virtual Fighter 5 on Steam. And when the Revo and all that stuff launches, because that's supposed to fix the netcode and rebalance some things, and it should make things kind of more interesting for everybody in general, I hope. Yeah, it's going to be Demon Souls. That'll come out on Wednesday, right on Christmas. So I expect the viewership on that one to be wonky. Don't be surprised. It's just how it happened, man. I launch them whether it's a holiday or not. So, you know, catch it if you have time. If you got 5 minutes and you want to check it out, check it out. If not, that's cool.
Check it out.
Tell me, screw you. You did something on the holiday. Well, I did it way in advance. So I didn't do it on the holiday. I did it like weeks ago. So it's done. I might try. I'm been heavily debating doing some streaming again. I kind of wanted to set up a set for it, but I don't think I'm going to get to that because I just don't have enough time that I'm carving out to try to figure out how to set that up. So it may just be a go, and then if I figure out things as I go along, maybe I'll do that. And it depends if I even catch the bug to want to continue to do it. A lot of times I feel like I don't add anything really new of value to the streaming space. So I'm just another person kind of out there playing a game, and I I don't know that interests me enough to do that long term. So
Sure.
hey, say that one counts. He's gonna watch his favorite Christmas movie, Batman Returns. That happens at Christmas
That
and takes place at Christmas. Whack, 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 whack.
that's
I
Christmas
count
tree.
Lethal Weapon.
Like,
He can totally count Batman Returns.
yeah.
And we all agree on
Yeah.
Die Hard. Everybody agrees on Die Hard except for the people that made Die Hard, and they're wrong.
Nobody, nobody else agrees with.
No, the people that made Die Hard are bound and determined saying it is not a Christmas movie, and everybody that watches the movie goes, "It's a Christmas movie." Like almost everybody agrees that that's a Christmas movie. It has been associated with Christmas for as long as I can remember.
Unfortunately, all the bulk of the Hanukkah movies are all Hallmark movies.
I mean, you got 8 Crazy Nights from Adam Sandler.
You do have 8 Crazy Nights, and you do have.
I've not watched that one. I keep getting tempted to watch it every time I see it pop up.
Which one? 8 Crazy Nights?
Nights.
It's actually decent. Technically, an American Tale is a Hanukkah movie too, because it happens around that time.
Okay.
But that's about it.
So
I
it's
mean,
like
everything
Melissa's
else.
struggling.
Everything else. Thank you, Metal
Happy
Person.
Hanukkah to Mike.
Thank you. Everything else though is a Hallmark movie or something by something with the hell's his name, Seth Rogen.
So the only way to roll with this is both. The only way you roll with that is both.
Ooh,
You can
yeah,
watch
that's
it
a good one.
any time from when Halloween season starts to Christmas, and you're totally cool, in my opinion. I will not pin that down to a single holiday.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Love that movie, by the way. Have not watched it this year. Probably should. Normally, I watch that one around Halloween, though, because there's not as many Halloween movies that I like to watch. So I tend to use that to get in the Halloween spirit.
And just so you guys know, if you have Amazon Prime, The Hebrew Hammer is free to watch.
He just pushing the Hebrew Hammer so hard.
Okay, let me. Here is the official description of this movie. A Jewexploitation spoof. I told you. In the vein of Shaft and Austin Powers, which is true. The Hebrew Hammer is the story of Mordecai, a handsome Orthodox Jew, a.k.a. the Semitic superstud, hired by the Jewish Justice League after discovering that Santa's evil son, who has come to run the North Pole after staging a coup with the help of a reindeer, Blitzen, has plans to eradicate Hanukkah. I'm just telling you. You want
I
to
feel like you shouldn't make Blitzen a bad guy. I feel like that's not cool.
Blitzen? Well, which other one would it be?
I
mean,
think
Rudolph
you
was
make any
bullied
reindeer
so
a bad
much.
guy. That's just wrong.
You know, Blitzen. His
Maybe
name is
Rudolph.
Blitzen.
He's got that rebel streak in him.
But his name is Blitzen. Blitzkriegen. I'm just saying. It's perfect.
I get where they're going with it.
So, but and
So is this
Santa's
Hebrew
son.
Hammer a Christmas movie? Sure.
It
We're so
attempts to
sissy
be a
sold.
it attempts to be a Christmas movie. But come on, Andy Dick is Santa's son. If you don't know who Andy Dick is,
Go watch some older movies. You'll get
yes,
it.
yes. I think he was actually in. I think he was actually in the second Zoolander movie too. Believe it or not.
Andy Dick, yeah, he's a bit of an ass.
Oh, very much so. I think he was in Road Trip. Let me see.
Sorry, I had to mute real quick. I really needed to sneeze. I did not want to
No,
blow out
it's okay.
everybody's ears.
Oh my God, he was in the Double Dragon movie. Oh, that's funny. He was in Pauly Shore in the Army now. He was in Star Trek Voyager.
JDA was playing his new map tonight. A piece of track. What's up, guys?
What's going on, boys?
Did someone say dick and ass? JDA Raid!
What's going on, gents?
Someone
JDA.
sneezing is scary to watch. Your eardrums will thank me, though. Those were loud.
Oh, you caught us on the way out the door, though.
Yeah, we're about to
although we were
dart
just
out, man.
talking about the best holiday movie ever, the Hebrew Hammer.
He's pumping out he broke out the Hebrew Hammer. And
Indeed.
Please don't clip that.
Oh my God, he was in The Lion King 2, Andy Dick. He was in CSI. What the?
I know he was kind of a bigger deal in like the late 80s through the 90s, somewhat in the 2000s.
Yeah, I mean,
and then he was kind of an ass to work with, so
I've heard I've heard nothing but that. He was in Knocked Up. He was in Community. I don't remember him in Community. Frankenhole. Hoodwinked. He was in Hoodwinked. He was in some animated stuff that you wouldn't think. Disney's Randy Cunningham, Ninth Grade Ninja. He was in Freaky Friday? Freaky Deaky. Never mind. Oh my God. Of course he was in Sharknado. He was in The Lion Guard, Return of the Roar. He was in Disney stuff. What in the world? All right. I never thought that for Christmas, Mullis would take us down an Andy Dick rabbit hole.
Is my mic my mic shows fine. Okay. Can you hear me okay now? Because my roadcaster's showing up every time I talk in OBS. Can you hear me now? Okay, it's back. All right. I think I'm going to have to use a different cable for this thing. I think this cable's going wonky on me.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I've had this cable connected to it for like ages, so it's probably dead now. I've got a bunch. I bought like a bunch of them when I got this one, so I could just change it. It should be fine. It's annoying that I'm having to do it, but okay. I feel like Sai's just doing it, so I have to keep checking my mic now.
Yes.
He's just trying to make me paranoid. I'm on to you, sir.
I think I can. You know what? This is PG-13.
So back to, that's fine.
No.
Hey, if you're bored, that's cool.
That's all right.
That's all right, man. I'm not always the most interesting person, and for long periods of time, I tend to bore everybody. It's fair.
I wonder if Jacob and Seth's old enough now to watch 8 Crazy Nights. I mean, it's only rated PG-13.
I'm gonna give Matt Zilla props for this. At least he's honest.
Absolutely, he's like, you know what?
At least he's honest. You guys were boring. I left.
Yeah, you guys
All
are.
right.
Yeah, I really didn't want to. Right, I didn't want to watch you, but there was paint drying on the wall, and
that paint was fascinating compared to you guys.
Yeah,
I've heard this before.
Right. You were talking about shit I had no desire to listen to. You know, it's fair. Fair enough.
The banner was good. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I mean, the banner was good. I think that's our cue, Nick.
I think he meant banter instead of banner, but that's okay.
I think he did too. But I think that's our cue.
Yeah, that's our cue. We should probably call it a night.
Yes.
We babbled enough. We've talked about the Hebrew Hammer way more than anyone probably should ever talk about the Hebrew Hammer. Um,
Negative, sir. Negative, sir.
so I think we're gonna call it a night, guys. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. We appreciate the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Anytime you guys come and hang out for any amount of time, whether or not we get boring or not, I appreciate it.
I was gonna say great stream, but now I'm not so sure. That's also fair.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
No.
But Merry Christmas, everybody. Have a great holiday season, whether you celebrate Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Christmas, whatever. Enjoy the hell out of it. Enjoy spending time with family and friends. Be safe. Don't drink too much. We want to see you guys in the new year. Have a great New Year's, also, by the way.
Yes.
And we will definitely see you guys in the new year. Have a night, guys.
Play on, gamers.